babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and we've got passion fruit spritzes on deck because, well, surviving work, trying a new sport, and watching strangers navigate marriage all in one day genuinely deserves a celebration.
Oh, pour it heavy today, Snark Squad. Like, the spritzes need to be flowing because the drama on this week's episode is peaking, and my analytical brain is just, it's currently short-circuiting.
Literally short-circuiting.
Right. But before we get to the televised behavioral study that is group therapy, I feel like we actually need to examine our own psychological blind spot.
Oh boy, here we go.
Because, I mean, the delusion we were about to critique on screen, we fully exhibited it yesterday.
I know exactly where you're going with this. And, like, I want to defend myself before you even start, but you're right. We have to talk about the pickleball court.
We really do.
Because I have discovered that the Dunning-Kruger effect, you know, that cognitive bias where people with zero ability completely overestimate their competence, it is incredibly real, and apparently it wears a pleated skirt.
It absolutely does. We walked onto that court carrying the kind of unearned, just delusional confidence usually reserved for reality TV villains. I mean, I am talking Serena Williams at Wimbledon Energy.
I bought a visor.
You were twirling the paddle like a scepter. We looked at a wiffle ball and a miniature tennis net, and our brains collectively decided, yes, we have mastered this without ever trying.
Well, I genuinely conceptualized it as, like, a trendy happy hour activity. You know, it's pastel. It's sponsored by seltzer companies. I thought we were going to lightly tap the ball and gossip.
Same.
But the psychological pivot that happens when you step onto that court is violent. The happy hour illusion shatters immediately, and you realize you are playing aggressive ping pong on a giant court against people who are out for blood.
Oh, we were humbled so swiftly. But here's the fascinating behavioral shift, right?
Yeah.
We didn't retreat.
No, we spiraled.
Exactly. Like 5 minutes in, instead of just accepting our total lack of skill, our fight or flight response kicked in, and we chose fight. We became violently competitive.
I lunged for a ball I had absolutely no business lunging for, mostly out of sheer ego preservation, I think. But wait, I want to talk about that one specific rally.
Oh my God, the rally.
Because neurologically, I really think we entered a flow state. The ball was hovering back and forth. The rhythmic thwack-thwack was hypnotizing. And for, like, 30 seconds, the delusion peaked. I literally mapped out a 5-year plan for our professional athletic careers.
Which is fascinating, because that flow state was immediately followed by a catastrophic miss that left you panting on the baseline like a golden retriever.
I couldn't breathe.
It makes me question the entire cultural phenomenon of this sport. Like, is it actually fulfilling a human need for play, or is it just a brilliantly marketed scam to trick millennials into doing high-intensity interval training disguised as socializing?
I heavily lean toward the marketing scam. But the human ego is so fragile that I am already plotting our return next Tuesday just to prove a point to the seniors who destroyed us.
Obviously.
Babes, we played one game and immediately started acting like we're headed to the championships.
We did.
Yeah.
But, you know, that intense, competitive, hyper-observant energy doesn't just exist on the court for us. It transitions perfectly into our day jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
We might work at different dental clinics, but the sociological ecosystem of a healthcare office is practically a case study in human surveillance.
Let's break down the information economy of a dental clinic. Because I swear, the front desk staff and the hygienists operate an intelligence network that moves faster than the CIA.
Faster.
I've always theorized that when people are trapped in sterile, high-stress environments, gossip just becomes the currency of connection.
Right, it's the sociology of the water cooler, but on steroids. Gossip in that setting isn't just malicious, it's a form of social bonding. It establishes the hierarchy.
Exactly.
The staff knows the clinic tea before the ink is even dry on an official management announcement.
It defies physics. Like today, we had a micro-drama over the break room fridge. Someone moved the office manager's oat milk to the back of the bottom shelf.
Oh, a fatal error.
A crime. To make room for a massive Tupperware of tuna salad. And within 4 minutes, I timed it, 4 minutes, the entire clinic knew. I had a hygienist whispering to me about the dairy displacement while her hands were literally inside a patient's mouth.
Wait, dairy displacement, that is incredible branding.
Right.
But it proves the point. Every profession secretly operates like a Bravo reality show, just with different lighting.
Yeah.
Like at my clinic, a patient refused to remove his Bluetooth earpiece during a root canal.
No.
Yes. And the literal facts were that he took one muted phone call. But by the time he reached the checkout desk, the clinic's gossip network had mutated the story into him executing a hostile corporate takeover while under the influence of nitrous oxide.
I am screaming. That is so funny. Babes, dentists are the gossip girls of healthcare.
XOXO indeed. But honestly, navigating that level of workplace surveillance, plus the physical reality check of pickleball, has completely triggered a severe regression in my coping mechanisms.
Oh no, what did you do?
The healing crystal era is back. It has been heavily reactivated.
Yeah. Oh my God, please tell me you are clutching a rock right now. Because I spent my entire morning holding a piece of raw quartz like it was a life raft.
I have an amethyst that is currently bearing the entire structural load of my emotional well-being.
I love that for you.
And I have a microscopic piece of citrine I accidentally bought at a farmer's market. I am now consciously operating under the belief that this tiny yellow rock is the only barrier between me and financial ruin.
Yeah.
I am manifesting my millionaire era with a pebble.
A pebble. I am right there with you. I gripped an emotional support quartz through the entire group therapy scene we are about to discuss. But I want your analytical take on this.
I got it on me.
Is there any merit, like at all, to the idea that the vibrational frequencies of the Earth's minerals interact with the human electromagnetic field? Or are we just weaponizing the placebo effect to manage our modern anxiety?
Oh, I argue it is weaponized placebo, 100%. But that doesn't make it ineffective. Human beings have a psychological need for an external locus of control. When the world feels chaotic, projecting our desire for stability onto a tangible, physical object like a cute crystal, it gives our brain a focal point. So, I mean, it's unadulterated delusion, but it's a highly functional delusion.
I will happily accept functional delusion. We're building accidental rock collections and outsourcing our hope to them.
We really are.
But babes, enough about our pickleball debut, dental office gossip network, and healing crystal comeback. Let's get into Married at First Sight, where the couples are searching for true love while we're searching for better backhands and emotional support quartz.
Pour the spritz. Because Season 20, Episode 14 wasn't just reality television. It was a masterclass in psychological defense mechanisms breaking down in real time.
It was so messy.
The experts set everyone down for group therapy, and we really need to restructure how we look at this episode. We aren't just looking at bad relationships, we are looking at specific types of self-sabotage.
Yes. Let's start with the most glaring one, which is the total and complete empathy deficit. The breakup we have all been waiting for. Courtney and Nick.
Finally.
I mean, I am celebrating her exit. But the behavioral shifts in that room were terrifying.
Terrifying is the word. When Paul asked if they wanted to end the marriage tonight, the tension in the room just shifted entirely, and Courtney's response was to play coy.
Oh, I hated it.
She sat there, looked at the ceiling, and just goes, I don't know.
Which is such a power play. She has been explicitly miserable since day one. By pretending to be on the fence, she forces everyone else in the room to basically beg her to leave, which centers the entire narrative on her autonomy. She didn't want a breakup. She wanted an audience for her breakup.
Precisely. And then, of course, Michelle takes the bait.
Oh, Michelle.
Michelle inserts herself with this unsolicited monologue about wasting 3 years in a dead-end relationship, which is a classic projection tactic. Michelle is subconsciously talking to herself about her own failing marriage with Cameron, but she's using Courtney as the proxy.
Oh, Michelle was absolutely giving a TED Talk to her own subconscious. But when Dr. Lisa finally asks about true viability, Courtney pulls the plug. She says, there's no reason we should stay.
Right.
Nick agrees they need to rip the Band-Aid off. But we have to analyze the parking lot aftermath, because this is where the empathy deficit becomes actually chilling.
Oh, the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because inside the room, Courtney is squeezing out a single tear, playing the solemn victim of a failed experiment. But the second they hit the fluorescent lighting of the parking lot, Nick genuinely breaks down crying.
He was sobbing.
And Courtney's immediate reaction isn't comfort or even just neutral silence, it's mockery. She sneers at him and says, oh, so now you're crying.
It was venomous. She literally couldn't tolerate him expressing an emotion that she wasn't controlling.
Exactly.
But I do have to push back on Nick here, just a little bit, because I don't think those tears were entirely about losing Courtney.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nick is a reality TV veteran. This is his 5th or 6th rodeo on a dating show. I think he held those tears in specifically for the exit interview to secure his victim edit. He wanted the audience to see him weeping while she acted cold.
See, I disagree with the idea that it's purely calculated self-producing.
You don't think so?
No, I think he wanted the screen time, yes. But neurologically, When you are in an environment with someone who is constantly verbally abusive and belittling, which Courtney was for weeks, your body stays in a hypervigilant state of fight or flight.
Okay, fair.
You physically cannot process grief until the threat is removed. So the moment they agreed to divorce, the threat was gone. I think those tears were the delayed physiological shock of a trauma bond snapping.
I see the physiological argument, I really do. But I still think a man with genuine boundaries would have walked away weeks ago. He endured the abuse because the currency of television time was more valuable to him than his own peace.
That's a dark take, but probably true.
And speaking of television currency, we have to talk about the expert's complicity in this. Based on the behavioral evidence of Courtney cursing him out and belittling his entire existence for weeks, how does she get a warm hug and a "we're so proud of you" from Dr. Lisa?
It's a massive failure of clinical responsibility. By hugging Courtney and validating her journey, quote-unquote, the experts are reinforcing her toxic behavior. They are essentially telling a textbook narcissist that her lack of empathy is just her standing in her truth.
It validates her entirely, and she proves it on her way out. The editors deserve an Emmy for this because they literally framed her final walk-off shot, tracking her past a towering pile of black trash bags in a dirty alleyway.
It was visual poetry. The juxtaposition of her unearned arrogance against literal garbage.
But the delusion doesn't end. Before she even leaves the building, she stops Adam, who is sitting right next to his wife, Marissa, by the way, and loudly tells him they need a pickleball rematch.
Unhinged.
She is flirting with another husband at her own divorce party.
It just highlights her need to constantly be the center of male attention, even inappropriate attention, to self-soothe her ego. But if Courtney's defense mechanism is cold detachment, let's transition to a completely different type of psychological warfare. Let's talk about aggressive deflection and the fear of accountability. Enter Felipe and Tori.
I physically tense up when Felipe is on screen.
Same.
The man was sweating, his eyes were bloodshot, he looked like he was vibrating on that couch. Tori confronts him, very calmly, and says his indecisiveness is ruining the marriage. And Felipe's defense is absolute nonsense.
Utter nonsense.
He claims he isn't unsure about his attraction to Tori, he is just unsure about the concept of marriage.
Which is a cognitive distortion. You applied for, interviewed for, and signed legal documents for a show called Married at First Sight.
Right.
But we need to define exactly what Felipe is doing here, because it is textbook Darvo, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender.
Break the mechanics of that down for the Snark squad, because it was wild to watch him deploy it in real time.
So Darvo is basically an ego firewall. When someone with low emotional maturity is confronted with their own bad behavior, their brain cannot handle the shame. So first, they deny the behavior.
Okay.
When Tori brings up his dinner party comment where he explicitly said he missed sleeping with multiple women, Felipe denies the malicious intent. He says, "They asked what I missed about being single. That's just the obvious answer."
It is the reddest of red flags. Like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then comes the attack. He attacks Paul and Tori for painting him a certain way, claiming they are twisting his words.
Even though he literally said those words.
Exactly. Finally, he reverses victim and offender. He suddenly plays the vulnerable card, claiming he's just scared of how much he likes Tori. So he makes himself the victim of his own overwhelming love, rather than the perpetrator of emotional instability.
It is psychological gymnastics, and Paul, to his credit, saw right through it. Paul strips away all the noise and just says, "You came on this show because you were lonely."
Yes.
He points out that a mature man finds a great thing and shuts everything else off.
And Felipe's ego absolutely shatters at the critique. He snaps back, "I don't have to convince you." And Paul drops the clinical demeanor and uses the ultimate terrifying dad voice, "Don't be disrespectful with me."
Chill.
There was a boundary being firmly set.
But here is my question for you about Tori. She, earlier, had to send her dog away because she didn't trust Felipe with it. If your nervous system tells you a man isn't safe around a golden retriever, you know he isn't safe for your heart.
100%.
So why is she still sitting on that couch? Is she a victim of his Darvo trap, or is she playing a longer game?
Honestly, I don't think she's a helpless victim at this stage.
No.
No, I think Tori is highly analytical and deeply aware of optics. She knows it's over. But in reality TV, the person who quits first is often villainized by the audience. I think she is strategically biding her time, waiting for Felipe to implode on decision day so she can walk away looking like the patient, long-suffering saint.
I completely agree. She is managing her PR.
Which brings us perfectly to our next theme, performative intimacy, and the aesthetic checklists of Sean and Nikki. Because if Tori is managing PR, Nikki is running a full-scale crisis communications firm.
Oh, the dynamic here is built on a foundation of buzzwords that lack any behavioral backing. Let's start with the most egregious one. Nikki sits on the group therapy couch and unironically declares herself an empath.
It is the biggest lie of the season. I need people to stop weaponizing therapy speak to excuse their bad behavior.
Seriously.
An empath is someone who absorbs and deeply feels the emotions of those around them. Nikki is profoundly, surgically disconnected from Sean's feelings.
Exactly. Claiming to be an empath while exhibiting zero empathy is a classic narcissistic shield. She wants the social capital of being highly sensitive without doing the emotional labor of actually caring about her husband.
Yes.
Because the reality is Sean doesn't fit her aesthetic or financial checklist. She wants a 6'4" guy making $350K a year, and Sean just doesn't fit the mood board. But Sean is making it impossible to root for him. Instead of recognizing that his wife is repulsed by him and just leaving with his dignity, he treats emotional connection like an HR compliance checklist.
An HR checklist, yes.
He sits on the couch and complains that she isn't emotionally available, which, fine, valid. But then he demands to speak to her mother to gather intel and suggests to the experts that they schedule a time to take a bath together.
It is the antithesis of romance. He thinks intimacy is a transactional metric. Like, if he sits in a tub with her, he can check off the intimacy box on his clipboard and consider the relationship improved.
I visibly recoiled. The thought of sitting in murky, tepid swamp water with Sean while he treats the bath like a corporate KPI is horrifying.
Truly.
But the moment he suggests it, Nikki suddenly flip-flops. After weeks of hiding him from her family, she brightly announces to the experts, "Actually, I'm ready for you to meet my mom."
Sean looks stunned. The experts looked confused because there was no behavioral buildup to that readiness.
Right.
Why do you think she did that?
Because Dr. Lisa was pressing her.
Yeah.
And Nikki realized her empath mask was slipping. She threw out a PR answer just to get the heat off her back. It was entirely performative.
I would agree with you, but then we have to analyze the post-therapy nanny cam footage. This piece of evidence throws a wrench into the entire theory of her being completely repulsed by him.
My jaw hit the floor. The Snark squad needs to understand the whiplash here. They go from this awkward corporate therapy session straight back to the apartment.
Right.
Nikki is leaning against the kitchen counter. Sean comes up behind her, grabs her booty. They start making out. He offers champagne, and she says, "If you want to," and they head directly to the bedroom. Make it make sense.
It is cognitive dissonance in its purest form. My hypothesis is that Nikki is fundamentally embarrassed by Sean in public. He doesn't meet her societal benchmarks for success, so she refuses to claim him in front of her friends, her family, or the experts.
Whoa.
However, they are isolated in this experiment. She is physically bored, and behind closed doors where there is no social consequence to her aesthetic brand, she is perfectly willing to engage in a physical relationship.
So you think she's essentially using him as a secret hookup while publicly acting like he's a burden?
Yes. She enjoys the physical validation, but she will never validate him socially. It is an incredibly toxic compartmentalization.
It's messy, and it's going to explode on decision day. But, if Sean and Nikki are masking their issues with secret physical intimacy, Adam and Marissa are masking theirs with hyperactive physical chaos.
Oh, Lord.
Let's talk about toxic people-pleasing and deflection.
Lord Adam. The nonverbal communication happening in that therapy circle told a clearer story than any of his words.
His body language was grounds for immediate divorce. He is slouching into the sofa. His feet are literally kicked up onto the coffee table in front of Paul and Dr. Lisa. And he keeps saying he's just trying to full send, bro.
Full send.
I get it is a defense mechanism. By acting deeply unserious, he protects himself from the vulnerability of actually trying and failing.
It's the class clown defense. If you never take it seriously, you can never genuinely be rejected. But the way he frames their progress is what truly disturbed me. He praises Marissa for going to the gym more and for playing pickleball with her friends.
He is praising her for adapting entirely to his lifestyle. What has he done to enter her world? Nothing.
Nothing at all.
The compromise is completely one-sided, which is the hallmark of a toxic relationship where one partner's needs consume all the oxygen in the room.
And this dynamic is perfectly encapsulated in the hot tub boat bait. Let's analyze this environment.
Oh, I need to paint this picture for everyone. They are floating in a giant motorized cauldron of warm water in the middle of a harbor. Marissa is trying to have a genuine conversation about their future, and Adam decides to set the mood by biting a hole into the side of an aluminum seltzer can like a frat boy at a tailgate and shotgunning it.
It is feral behavior, but it's not just random, you know. It's a distraction technique. Every time the conversation verges on emotional depth, he introduces physical chaos to derail it.
Yes, because right after he chugs the seltzer, he climbs onto the edge of the boat over the open water and starts doing push-ups.
Don't remind me.
While wearing socks.
Yeah.
Fungal, damp foot socks on the edge of a boat during a romantic date.
The socks are a crime against humanity. But look at Marissa's reaction. What does she do?
She laughs. She nervously giggles through the entire display. And earlier, she admitted that her friends met Adam and had massive, glaring concerns about his intensity and immaturity. But she hides that from him. She absorbs all the discomfort so he never has to feel it.
That is the core of toxic people-pleasing. It is a trauma response rooted in a deep fear of conflict. She believes that if she shrinks herself, laughs at his inappropriate behavior, and accommodates his needs, she can control the environment and prevent him from abandoning her.
But he is actively deceiving her. In therapy, he lies to the experts and says, oh yeah, Marissa's going to meet my sister this week. Marissa's eyes go wide. She had no idea. He weaponized a family introduction on camera just to win points with the therapists, completely blindsiding his wife.
It's manipulative. The question is Marissa aware of the manipulation and too scared to speak up? Or is she genuinely blinded by her need to make the relationship work?
I think she knows, but her fear of confrontation completely overrides her logic. She is going to smile, nod, compliment his push-ups, and get her heart broken.
So sad.
Which leads us to the final theme of the recap, the burden of the fixer and the danger of dimming your own light. Let's rapidly analyze the remaining couples who are quietly drowning.
Let's start with Cameron and Michelle. Cameron is actively struggling. He admits to being deeply pessimistic, feeling depressed, and viewing the marriage as a chore.
Yeah.
But the psychological root of this is financial and social insecurity. He makes less than $150K, and he feels entirely inadequate next to Michelle, who is endlessly optimistic and successful.
So his depression is manifesting as resentment toward her joy. And how does Michelle handle it? She doesn't hold him accountable for managing his own mental health. She just pats his back and gives him a sports analogy about how you can't appreciate the wins without the losses.
Toxic positivity.
I'm watching this thinking, how long can she operate as his unpaid therapist before her own mental health collapses?
You cannot be your partner's sole emotional regulator. It builds deep, irreversible resentment. And we see a similar dynamic of over-accommodation with Devon and Caitlyn.
Caitlyn finally drops her walls and reveals her trauma, right? An ex with severe substance abuse issues. She claims she operates in a rigid, masculine energy to protect herself, but she's trying to soften up.
Which is a breakthrough for her. But look at the cost to Devon. Devon tells the experts he feels better now that he understands her, but he explicitly admits he is still suppressing his true personality to avoid triggering her. He is dimming his own light to make space for her unhealed trauma.
That is not a marriage, that is a hostage situation. And speaking of hostage situations, Mecca and Belle.
Oh, this one hurts.
Mecca sits on that couch and coldly states that if today were decision day, he would say yes, but not hell yes.
The pause before he said that was devastating. And Belle's response. She admits she suppresses her own feelings and needs just to avoid pushing him further away. The experts literally warn her that she is marching toward a cliff of resentment, and she just nods.
It is a cliff covered in red flags, which means it is time for us to step in. Babes, welcome to segment 1, the marriage report card. We are handing out grades, and I want the behavioral justification for every single one.
Let's start with communication. I am grading Adam and Marissa.
They receive a definitive, unequivocal F and F-.
Easily.
True communication requires vulnerability and honesty. Adam actively lies to the experts about the sister meeting to manipulate the optics of his effort. Marissa actively withholds her friend's genuine concerns behind a shield of nervous giggling. They aren't communicating, they're just coexisting in a shared delusion while he does calisthenics.
Flawless analysis. They fail. Next category, chemistry. Let's evaluate Sean and Nikki.
This one is tricky. The nanny cam proves there is physical contact, but chemistry requires a blend of physical attraction and emotional resonance. I'm giving them a C+.
Generous.
Well, it is not genuine chemistry. It is proximity, isolation, and boredom masquerading as desire. It's trauma-bonded horniness.
I would argue it's even lower. A solid D. Treating intimacy like an HR mandate in public while sneaking around in private destroys trust. Next up, effort. Felipe.
I am giving Felipe a Z or an F minus minus.
I support this grade.
Effort requires self-reflection. Felipe's entire strategy consists of complaining that he misses the single life, deploying Darvu tactics to avoid accountability, and acting as if merely abstaining from infidelity deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. Zero effort.
He is emotionally truant. Now, emotional maturity, Courtney.
Another Z. Based purely on the behavioral evidence, she is off the charts toxic. Emotional maturity requires empathy and the ability to hold space for someone else's feelings.
Which she lacks.
Completely. You cannot scream at a man for weeks, mock him for processing his grief in a parking lot, and then ask the producers for a replacement husband while flirting with a married castmate. She is operating at a negative emotional deficit.
It was a masterclass in narcissistic injury. Finally, long-term potential. Cameron and Michelle.
I am giving them a cautious B, but I need to heavily asterisk this grade.
Why the asterisk?
The potential only exists if Cameron seeks professional clinical therapy outside of this reality show construct. Michelle's relentless optimism is resilient, but it is not a cure for clinical depression or deep-seated financial insecurity.
I completely agree. A, cautious B, but the clock is ticking on her patience. All right, Snark Squad, let's move into segment 2. Red flag or growth? I will present a specific behavioral moment from the episode, and you have to categorize it as a genuine red flag, personal growth, miscommunication, or pure relationship chaos.
I am ready. Hit me with the psychology.
Moment 1. Nick breaking down in tears in the parking lot immediately after finalizing the breakup with Courtney.
I'm going to push back on my earlier snark here. Initially, I wanted to say pure relationship chaos because it felt self-produced. But listening to your point about the physiological release of a trauma bond, I will categorize this as personal growth.
Oh, love that pivot.
It takes growth to finally let your body process the pain, even if you know the cameras are rolling. He finally let the dam break.
I love that reframe.
Yeah.
All right, moment 2. Felipe admitting to the entire therapy group that he deeply misses sleeping with multiple women.
Genuine red flag. A neon, flashing, pulsating red flag visible from low Earth orbit.
Seriously.
It demonstrates a complete lack of impulse control and a bizarre disregard for his partner's public dignity. You do not romanticize your single life roster while sitting next to your legal wife.
It is the ultimate indicator of someone who wants the title of marriage without any of the actual sacrifice. Moment 3. Caitlyn finally opening up about her ex-partner's severe substance abuse issues.
This is a complex one. For Caitlyn, it is personal growth. She is identifying the root cause of her hyperindependence. But for the marriage itself, it's pure relationship chaos.
Why chaos?
Because she is dumping years of unhealed trauma onto Devon, a man who is already shrinking himself to fit her needs. It might be too heavy, too late.
It's a classic case of right realization, wrong timeline. Final moment. Adam executing push-ups in damp socks on the edge of a motorized hot tub boat after shotgunning a seltzer.
Pure relationship chaos. Unhinged behavior.
Beyond unhinged.
There is no DSM-5 classification for that level of frat boy delusion. It is a physical manifestation of a man terrified of a quiet moment.
It truly is a frantic attempt to outrun intimacy, which leads us perfectly into segment 3 if we were the experts. Because frankly, Paul and Dr. Lisa were entirely too clinical and polite this episode.
They're too polite.
It is time for some brutally honest cocktail-fueled intervention.
Pass the spritz, because I am ready to practice unlicensed therapy. My first intervention is for Tori. Listen to me very carefully, Tori. Run. Pack your bags, grab your dog, and send Felipe directly to the alleyway with Courtney's trash bags. You cannot outlove a Darvo manipulator. One conversation where you demand absolute fidelity will not rewire a 28-year-old man who is actively grieving his single life. He needs to grow up, and your life is not a rehabilitation center for immature men.
Brutal, accurate, and necessary. Okay, my intervention is for Marissa. Marissa, you have to stop laughing. The nervous giggling is destroying your self-worth.
It really is.
You need one specific conversation where you look Adam dead in the eye, point at his soggy socks, and say, I am not doing a push-up on a boat. Sit down.
Sit down.
It would completely shatter his matrix. It would force him to encounter a boundary, and his reaction to that boundary will tell you everything you need to know about the viability of your marriage.
If she did that, his brain would simply reboot. Okay, my turn again. I have advice for Nikki. Nikki, you need to drop the empath facade and stop running a PR campaign for a relationship you hate.
Stop it right now.
Admit on camera that you are embarrassed by him because he doesn't meet your $350K financial benchmark. Stop dropping breadcrumbs of fake hope just to protect your television edit. The truth will set you free.
And it would save Sean the embarrassment of proposing a weekly bath schedule, like it's a dental cleaning appointment.
Exactly. Okay, babes, we have reached the final stretch. Segment 4. Decision day delusions. It is time for our most unhinged, psychologically backed predictions for the finale. Who is actually staying together?
Based on the behavioral patterns, I predict Cameron and Michelle will say yes.
Really?
Yeah, Michelle's identity is too wrapped up in being a fixer to accept defeat, and Cameron is currently too dependent on her emotional regulation to walk away. I also predict Devon and Caitlyn will say yes purely because Devon has a savior complex and believes that fixing her trauma will earn him unconditional love.
Oh, the fixer complex is a terrifyingly strong glue. Okay, who's headed for disaster? Obviously, Felipe and Tori. Tori is highly aware of the optics, and she is going to drop the hammer on decision day to secure her hero edit. But I also predict Adam and Marissa are doomed in a much sadder way. I think Marissa's people-pleasing trauma response will force her to fold and say yes, and Adam, terrified of actual commitment, will blindside her and say no.
That is a dark prediction, but structurally, it tracks with his avoidant attachment style. Now, what is the biggest surprise coming our way?
Hear me out. Prepare yourself. Sean and Nikki say yes.
Absolutely not. The data doesn't support it?
The public data doesn't support it, but the nanny cam data does. I predict they will say yes strictly because of a wild, confusing, trauma-bonded physical connection that happened entirely off camera.
Oh, boy.
They will say yes out of sheer, undeniable physical boredom and a mutual desire to avoid looking like failures, completely shocking the experts and the entire audience.
That is a monumental delusion, but I am entirely here for the mess it would create. Give me one completely ridiculous prediction to end the night. Something that defies logic but somehow feels spiritually possible in the reality TV cinematic universe.
Okay, picture this. Post-show, the dust has settled. Courtney, seeking a new source of narcissistic supply, slides into Adam's DM.
Oh my God.
Hey, about that pickleball rematch. They get together, they destroy each other on the court because they both have unwarranted aggressive confidence, and they end up cast as the ultimate villain couple on a messy reality dating spinoff. Perfect match. Here they come.
I would subscribe to whatever streaming service bought the rights to that. Like the toxic synergy of her cold detachment and his frat boy deflection would be incredible television.
It's written in the stars, babes. I'm manifesting it with my farmer's market citrine right now.
Well, before you manifest a reality TV apocalypse with your placebo rock, we need to bring the Snark Squad into the conversation.
All right, Snark Squad, it is your turn to spill. We need your behavioral analysis and your life updates. First, have you ever tried pickleball? Or are we the only ones who walked onto the court acting like Serena Williams and left needing intense physical therapy and a slice of humble pie?
We need to know if the delusion is universal. And more importantly, let's talk about the sociology of your workplace. Does your office have a gossip network that moves faster than our dental clinic? We need the absolute best, most petty break room tea in the comments below.
Give us your version of the dairy displacement drama. And finally, what's the absolute weirdest wellness phase you've ever gone through to self-soothe your modern anxiety? Are you deeply entrenched in a crystal era right now, or did you do something even more chaotic? Let us know.
We read every single comment, so do not hold back your diagnoses.
Stay hopeful, stay competitive, and we'll see you on the Snark side.